So it's time to stitch out general store, and I'm actually doing this for the second time. Um, I made a lot of mistakes the first time, so this should be much better. Again, I'm using muslin as my stabilizer instead of no-show mesh. I'm going to be doing my quilting before the applique, so there is my batting piece. Here's my background piece. And then you need your foundation. After your foundation comes your building. For you, you're going to have white on white polka dots if you're using the Kimberbell kit. I'm using white houndstooth check. So yours might look a little bit different, but again, I've already done this, so I thought I'd do it a little bit differently. For the roof, you're going to have this gingerbread brown lattice. For the windows, it is the white with the blue polka dot. For the door, red with white polka dots. For the windows, I already did the windows. I laid that down first. So roof, door, windows. And then for the pillars and stairs, you're going to have white leather. I didn't cut mine down to these sizes. You are going to be using red for the rocket tip, white for the rocket body, and then for the covering of the windows, you're going to be using that minty green clear vinyl. I have tons of scraps, so I'm going to be using some of my scraps to do this, but this is what you should have from your kit. So let's go ahead and talk about the quilting. We talk about this each time, but for your quilting, that is my border quilt. Where's my instructions for my regular quilting? Here they are. So we're going to be doing, if you look at the chart, again, this is going to be the final embroidery field on this one is 6.5 by 8.5 because you're adding the quilting. So you have to bump up your hoop size. I'm using an 8 by 12 hoop. And your trim size is 6.5 by 8.5. That's the big number that tells you what you have to choose. That's the trim size of this block. All 5 middle blocks are 6.5 by 8.5. The 2 outside blocks are 4.5 by 8.5, which means we have to cut our batting to 7 by 9. Your finished size is 6 by 8, and so we're going to look for the 6 by 8 quilting. So let's go over to our machine. And I'll take this over there too. So I'm going to go into my pocket. I'm going to my USB. And I'm looking for Quilting Patriotic, PES. And again, we're looking for the 6 by 8. And I'm going to go ahead and set it. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit Add, Pocket, USB, Main Street Celebration. And what I'm looking for is the General Store, and that's this one right here. And set. And as long as you don't move anything, it should come in right on top of the quilting. And we're ready. I'm going to hit embroidery. Let's go ahead and slide on my hoop. And if you look at our instructions, we're going to look at the quilting instructions first. First step is stitch the batting placement, place the batting, stitch the batting tack down, trim the batting. So I already have my deco bob in there. I'm just using white deco bob. I know it's a little bit harder to see. The reason I'm using that is because that's what I'm going to be quilting with. So why go through a ton of thread changes when I can just leave it? I'm going to spray the back of my batting. Again, don't forget, spray it on the nubby side. The smoother side is your right side, and that's going to be facing up. Right. Go ahead and stitch it down. Get your favorite pair of applique scissors. I'm going to use these double curved to trim it. That looked really small to me. I had to actually look at my screen to make sure that was the right size. But that is the right size. I must have just cut my batting big. I was just using scraps. So I know it's not cut pretty. And then you're going to go ahead and trim. It's like sometimes I feel like I'm cutting through spider webs. Oh, that's what I was getting caught on. My tassel was getting caught. Okay, so that is done. We're going to slide this back on. Next step is going to be, here I'm going to show you the instructions. It is going to be fabric placement line. That's your background fabric. Place the background fabric, stitch the fabric, the background fabric down, and then you're going to do the quilting. Do not trim your background fabric. So let's go ahead and we're going to hit start. And now it's going to do the background fabric placement line. Here's my background fabric. I'm going to go ahead and give this a little shot of spray. I have a little bubble there too. I'm going to give that a little press. Okay, what I like to do is I like to fold my background fabric in half, hamburger, which is the fat way. And here are my center marks. I'm going to line it up with that and make sure I'm kind of centered over my fabric, and then just lay this out. Okay, now we're going to tack it down. I'm just going to hit start. Do not trim this. Hit start and do the quilting. Okay, so again, anytime you're doing the quilting and you're pre-quilting, what we did was we already laid the background fabric down. So we can skip steps 1 and 2, and we're going to start with steps 3 and 4. So let's go to our machine. We're going to go here to this button, and that allows you to go forwards and backwards. And here is where you see it wants to do that placement step for your background fabric. We're going to skip that. This is the tack down stitch for your background fabric. We're going to skip that. And we're going to start with that, which is going to be the placement stitch for your foundation. So I'm going to say okay, so it brings up my color list. I'm going to come right back over here. It says color does not make a difference, so I'm just going to leave that white in. And this is going to be my foundation fabric. I'm going to give it a little shot of spray. Let's lay that down. Color does not make a difference for step 4, so we're just going to go ahead and stitch. And this is step 4, which is stitch the foundation tack down line. Let's go ahead and trim that. And it says to trim it close to the stitch. Okay. Now we're on step 5. Step 5 says stitch the building placement line, and then we're going to put our building fabric right side up, and then we're going to tack it down and trim it. So let's go ahead and we're just going to hit start. And I'm using this white on white houndstooth check. You're going to have, I think, white with white polka dots. So I'm going to give it a little spray to the back. And let's go ahead and place that. Now it's our tack down. This is going to be step 6, and then we're going to trim. And I'm not taping, I am spraying. And my favorite spray, I'm like doing a product placement, is Ganold KK100. It's the best. If you've ever used any of the other stuff, I don't even get it with the other stuff. Like there's no stick. But this one will just give you just enough stick. You don't want to be too liberal with it. You want to be kind of conservative with it. If you've used the other stuff, then you probably will think you have to spray it like crazy because the other stuff just doesn't work. Okay, so let me go ahead and trim this. And you want to trim to the stitch. All right. Now we are in step 7. And step 7 is stitch the roof placement line, and then it's going to be the tack down line. The roof is going to be that pretty gingerbread brown fabric. Again, the color doesn't make a difference. I'm just going to leave in this white deco bob. When color doesn't make a difference, I'll usually use like a light color, like a light gray or a white or a cream. Let's go ahead and lay this down. This is step 8. Let me pull that forward a little bit so I can get to it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and slide that back on. We are in step 9, which is placement stitch for the door. So get your red fabric with the polka dots. I came unthreaded. Let me go back to that step. There's my door. I'm going to pull that forward so I can get to it. All right. And placement stitch for the windows. That's going to be your white with the polka dots. All right, we're going to put down the windows. Here's our tack down. This is step 12. So this is stitch the window tack down line, and then we're going to trim close to the stitch line. After that, colors are going to count. All right, I'm going to slide that down and let's trim those windows. Oh, maybe I'll switch it that angle and you'll be able to see better. Alrighty. Windows are done. Got some threads lingering. And now is where we start to stitch and the colors make a difference. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to stitch the siding detail on the building. I'm going to do that in a darker gray, and then stitch the windows satin outline, and I'm going to do that in a gold. So let's go ahead and do those first. So let's start with our dark gray. Let me get my hoop back on. And I'm actually going to do my window outlines in this brown. I love this brown. It's Polyfast 4323, in case you're looking for the perfect brown that goes with that lattice color fabric. All right. You could do it in a gold if you want, or you could get wild and crazy and do something totally different. And this is going to be 6 minutes of stitching. right, that was, let's go back. Step 14. Now we're going to stitch the window ledge fill, and I'm going to do that in dark gray. Then we're going to be putting down the window vinyl, and we're going to be stitching it down with white. So just have your white thread ready. All right, I'm getting my white thread. I'm getting my piece of vinyl. I'm going to do all those windows. There we go. And you could tape this down. I'm just going to hold it. Once it starts stitching, it's going to stay in place. So we're going to stitch these and then we're going to trim them. All right, slide this out a little bit so I can go ahead and let me go from this angle. Let's see if that's a little bit better. I'm going to trim these all up. All right, windows, vinyl on windows is done. Now it wants to stitch the porch railing fill. I'm going to go back to the brown, that light brown. Or I'm sorry, before we do that, put your white back in. Sorry about that. You have to stitch the building satin outline, which is just going to be on the left and the right. Sorry to jump the gun on that. Hopefully you didn't start stitching. But this is step 17, so we just finished step 16. And it's just going to do this right there, right where it's stitching, and then it's going to go on the other side. And just grab that thread. I think it looks cute with that white houndstooth check. Then we're going to do brown, gold, and black. So those are the colors that you want to have out and ready. Okay, here's the brown. This is going to be for the porch railing. right, now we're going to put in the gold for the porch lights. And it's going to do 2 porch lights, and then we're going to do black for the light detail, and it's cute. This detail is so fine. I thought about switching it to 60 weight thread, but I did it with the regular 40 weight and it looked great. So we're just going to use the 40 weight. If ever, though, you have something super fine and you feel like you need more detail, that's when you're going to do the 60 weight thread. And after this, we're going to do white for the leather pillars. Doesn't that look so cute? All right, so let's go ahead and take out the black. We're going to put up in the white, and you need your piece of faux white leather. Okay, I'm going to lay these down and trim them as we go. So I'm going to let it do the tack down, and then I'm just going to hit stop. And I'm going to trim. I think it's just going to be easier for me to trim it without them all being stitched down. So I'm just hit stop. Go ahead and move this over here so you can see. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim these up. I found all the leather that was like in between. I found it to, I thought it made it a little bit harder to trim it. So I'm just going to trim it like this. Okay, there's one. I'm going to lay down my leather for the next one. Just get right there. Let's slide this back on. Make peek underneath and make sure that looks good. Right, I'm going to go ahead and hit my stop button. And let's trim this one. Oh. There we go. Let's do the next one. Slide my hoop back on. Get this back in line. Right, get ready to hit that stop button. Let's see if it's easier for you to see from this direction. As somebody who's done this twice, I really think it's easier cutting it when before they're all stitched together. Okay, and I like that they're not perfect. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm cutting them pretty chunky. Last one. Where is it? There we go. Cute. All right, now we're going to do some stitching. Let me slide the hoop back on. This is going to be 8 minutes of stitching, and it is going to be doing the roof outline, both the very top roof and the lower roof. I may need a bobbin change sometime soon. See if we can make it. color is going to be the red satin stitch for the door. Whoa. I have no idea what that hit, but we lost our needle. Whoa. I should have stopped it because I think it just dragged that needle across the bed of my machine. And I think it just hit a really, really thick part. And there it is. Hopefully, it did not do that much damage. I don't even want to see. So we're just going to pretend that didn't happen. I'm not worried about those last few stitches because my needle broke in like 2 parts. Needles just break sometimes. They do. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in. And we're ready to move on. Should I look under there and see? We're just going to forget that happened. Let's go ahead and put in our red thread. The red thread is for the outline of the door. I feel like this is a never-ending bobbin. It's an eternal bobbin. Wouldn't that be nice? And after the red is going to be black for the handle. And then we're going to be doing the potted flowers. So we're 34 minutes in if you're stitching at full speed. That was just my elbow. Don't worry. Okay, here's black for the little knob. We're going to do green for the potted plant leaf detail. This is step 26. If you're following along with your instructions, it's step 26. And after that, we're going to do the stitch the potted plants pots fill. And I did mine in that same brown. after the pots, we're going to do the flowers on the left and then the flowers on the right. And I'm going to do a lighter blue for my flowers on the left. And I'm going to do red for my flowers on the right. Look how cute those little pots are. Here we go. Flowers to the left. We're almost done with our embroidery, and then we're going to be doing the rockets. And then our general store is almost done. Here we go with the red. And then we're going to stitch the foundation satin stitch outline. I'm going to do that in that darker gray. So I put a little bit of a heavier needle in. I'm not sure if it is an 8012 or a 9014, but it's a little heavier than the 7511 needle I had in there. And we're going to be, after we do this, we're going to be putting the stairs on, so you need your other piece of leather. Okay, let's get your white back in. All right, let's see if this is wide enough, which it is. Okay, I'm going to just take it straight up, and I'm going to check my sides. Check this side, plenty. Check the top, plenty. Alrighty, we're going to trim this. And there are your steps, and they're super cute. Now we're going to go on. Remember, this part of your directions is if you have a 5x7 hoop. We're going to go on to here. We're going to stitch the rocket fuse detail. I'm using my red glitter for that, or my red metallic on my thread stand. I'm using my thread stand because had some breakage when I was on my spool pin. So let's just go on my thread stand for this. And I might slow down just a little bit, just for my glitter. My metallic. Let's go down to 800 for my metallic. And I'm going to be doing a lot of this in metallic. So I'm going to stitch this, and then it calls for white to stitch the rocket spark. I'm going to do that. So everywhere it calls for white, I'm doing silver metallic. And this is step 34. Looks so cute. The next step, they want red, and I am going to use just red thread. I'm going to just leave my speed at 800 so I don't have to go back in and switch that. Not too worried about it. So when you're doing the red, you're going to be putting down the white glitter. And when you do the white, you're going to be putting down the red glitter. Just a reminder. Okay, here's the placement stitch for your white glitter. I still have this piece left over from before. Make sure you take off the plastic coating. It should be nice and soft and pliable. So remove that plastic coating. Alrighty. That should be perfect. And go ahead and switch your thread to white. Now we're going to do the little red tip of the rocket. Wonder if this will be, oh, look at that. That looks perfect. I just found that little piece just laying on my floor. And it just looked like the tip of a rocket. How funny is that? Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and trim that up. And let's go ahead and heat up your iron. You're going to want a Teflon sheet or a pressing cloth or something like that. And let's take it over and we're going to press that down. So when you press down, you want to make sure that you do not press your vinyl and you do not press your leather because it will scar both of those. So I'm just going to put the sheet right here, and now I know not to go below that. And I think I can see that rocket under there. Don't be holding your iron down on your hoop either. And there we go. Looks perfect. Woo, that was hot. And we are all set. Let's go ahead and finish our embroidery. I'm back at my machine, and now it wants red for the fireworks. Since it's the fireworks, I'm going to put my metallic back in. I was threading right over my white. So we're going to do this. Next we'll do the silver, then the gold, and then the blue for the eyelets. Alrighty, there is, those are your red fireworks. Let's do your silver fireworks. right, we are going to put in the gold metallic. Sorry, you might have missed just a little bit of that, but my phone shut off for a minute. All we're doing is still stitching the gold. All right, I'm gonna put in, I'm using this darker blue for the eyelets. And on this design, it looks like there's 5 eyelets. This is a good time to heat up your iron because we're gonna press it and then trim this. So get your rotating mat if you have one and your 6.5 by 8.5 pop ruler. And we are done. I'm going to slide this out and let me go ahead and put it over here. Let's come on over here and I'm going to go ahead and take this out of the hoop. Let me see if we can get a good angle like that. For just a second I thought, am I ready to take it out of the hoop? We are. First thing I want to do is I'm going to turn it to the back side. I pieced my muslin to make it fit. It was such a nice piece, I didn't want to just, it was so close. Okay, and where I'm really concerned about is the edges because I want to make sure everything is laying nice and flat. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a good press. I'm actually ironing. If it was directional fabric and I was worried about stretching it and it distorting, I wouldn't be as aggressive as I'm being right now. So there's a little bit of pulling. I'm not so worried about the leather on the other side because, you know, there's a lot coming between me and that leather. But you just want to press it so it's laying nice and flat. Remember, you're the boss. Okay, that looks good. Everything looks nice and flat. Notice how wavy it is right here. I'm not worried about that because I'm going to be trimming it. I'm not pulling out, just like the other ones, I'm not going to pull out my basting stitch. And I know it's not a cut line. That's what the directions say. It's not a cut line, but it is going to give me some guidance for trimming this down. And I am going to be trimming. I think I did the other one for you, and I trimmed on the I was trimming on the wrong side of the fabric just to show you where the batting is. But you know that batting is right inside that basting line. So I'm just going to trim it up from the front side. Okay. Here is my, I'm going to push that to the side. Here is my rotary cutter. I am going to get it lined up top and bottom first. And I can see right here, like it's pretty wavy. So I'm not really so lined up there. I'm about 1/8 of an inch up here, and cumulatively back and forth, I'm probably 1/8 of an inch on the bottom. I'm just outside the line on the right and the left. I might nudge it over a tiny bit. Maybe not that much. And that looks good to me. I'm just going to go ahead and cut. And again, I'm doing it this way because I want to make sure that my batting is centered in there. I don't want a lot of batting in my seams. I think I can get my last cut this way. And there we are. Adorable. Super, super cute. Okay, we are done with the general store.